Welcome to the session on mindfulness and compassion meditation. What we'll do today is some of the grounding practice, some of the close placement practice where we have as the object of our attention the internal sensation of the breathing coming in and out, and then environmental mindfulness. Then we'll switch over to do the compassion practice, kindness and compassion for oneself, and then expand that to others. So, to begin, let your eyes gently close. We'll do the grounding practice, starting with a body scan, awareness of any tension you might be feeling that you don't need to hold your good posture. Around your scalp, your eyes, ears, your jaw. You can let it wiggle, you can soften it and let it relax a bit. It's fine if your lips part just a little bit. As we've done before, if there's residual tension that just doesn't seem to want to let go, you can try the intensify and release, where you clench your jaw tightly for 2 or 3 seconds, and then just let go. Don't force it to drop, just let go. And don't strain when you do this. You don't have to clench it like you're clenching as tight as you possibly can. Just intensify it a bit and then let it go so that you can experience the contrast. Your neck, shoulders, from collarbone to shoulder blades, from your neck out to the points of your shoulders, that whole area, just let it hang as if your spine is a tent pole and your shoulders and the rest of your body is the canvas hanging from that tent pole before it's pulled out into a full tent. Again, you can clench for 2 or 3 seconds and then just let drop. Don't push your shoulders down, just let them drop. Chest and upper back, upper arms, rib cage, all around you. Lower back and deep belly. Very often we have more tension in our deep belly than we realize. Again, you can tighten it a bit, not too hard, and then just let it drop. Hips and pelvis, thighs, forearms, and hands. If you feel tension in your hands, you can make a fist and then hold it for 2 or 3 seconds and then just let it relax. Hands palm down on top of each thigh, just behind your knees. Knees, calves, ankles, and feet. And take one nice full breath in and just let that tension be swept out as you breathe out from the top of your head all the way down to your feet. We think of our minds as being somehow right behind our forehead. Let your mind fall back and down. Back to the back of your skull and throat, down your throat, behind your chest. Settling slowly down like a leaf, gently settling to the bottom of the pond. Behind your rib cage, behind your solar plexus. Behind your stomach, down, behind your navel. A few inches below your navel, just in front of your spine, and let your awareness rest there. Gently settled in the core, deep core of your torso. Your torso expands and contracts gently as the breath comes in and out. And feel the movement down there. It's quiet, with the subtle movement like subtle currents at the bottom of that pond. And with each out breath, Feel yourself sink down, get heavier and sink deeper, and feel like you're merging with the earth, part of the earth, but your good posture extending upward like a mountain, deeply grounded in the earth, but with a dignified, upright posture. Let your breath come and go. Be an observer rather than a director. Just notice if you're taking a deep or a shallow breath, a long or a short breath. Let your breathing come and go naturally, like the wind. Let your mind be open to whatever you're going to experience, without preconceptions, without editing. Just noticing, like the sky hovers above everything on the earth, looking down without partiality or bias. Body like a mountain, breath like the wind, mind like the sky. Let your eyes gently open about halfway, looking down under your eyelids at about a 45-degree angle. Let your eyes rest on whatever is in front of you there, but not hold on to it tightly. Just soften your gaze so that you see the space that you're sitting in. You can see your lap down below, maybe even your chest. Without tilting your head forward, just be aware of your body sitting in that space. And choose as your object of attention the sensation of filling as the breath comes in, and the sensation of your torso emptying as the breath goes out. Filling and emptying with a general awareness of your posture. If thoughts come and go, just let them come and go. Like birds flying across the sky of your mind, leaving no trace. And your feelings, sensations you have, just notice them and touch and go. But if a feeling or a thought captures your mind and you drift off into a daydream, it's not a problem. The mind does wander. Just when you realize it, acknowledge with a smile. You might label it daydreaming. And then reinvigorate your posture and tune back into the internal sensation of filling and emptying as the breath goes in and out. We'll do that for a few minutes. If your eyes close and you get a little bit drowsy and your posture dips down, when you realize it, just reinvigorate your posture, raise your gaze to look a bit higher, and tune into the sensation of the air coming in and out of your nostrils, so your awareness is higher in your body. Cool and dry coming in, warm and moist going on. On the other hand, if your mind is all over the place, and you come back for a couple of breaths and it's off again, lower your gaze even more. Don't quite close your eyes, but lower your gaze even more. And drop your awareness deep, deep into your torso, feeling it expand and contract as the breath comes in and out. And notice more detail. If your mind gets taken away because it's busy with thoughts, instead, make it busy with the details. That moment of starting to fill, that process of filling, in the moment when you're full, the moment of starting to empty, process of emptying, and that moment when you're completely empty, when the breath's all the way out. Again, not directing your breath, but just observing it, but observing more detail to occupy your mind. Those are the two techniques we can use to deal with drowsiness and wildness. Now raise your gaze, looking straight ahead, to shift into environmental mindfulness, environmental awareness. Look straight ahead, and again, don't attach to what your eyes rest on, but just soften your gaze and open up your peripheral vision as wide to each side as you can. Notice your face muscles, let them relax. That lets your eyes open wider to each side, up, above, and below. You might notice the ceiling in the field of your vision above and your lap below, far off to the right and far off to the left. Without moving your eyes, you can move your awareness around your field of vision. The far corners won't be so much in focus, but you can notice what's there. And without a lot of commentary, if you choose to, you can lightly label them, but mainly look for different colors, shapes, and shades of light and dark. Colors, shapes, shades of light and dark. Leaving your eyes open, turn your awareness to hearing, and open up your hearing in all directions. Listen for the variety of sounds, loud and soft, high-pitched and low-pitched, sharp and dull, near and far. Listen for sounds in all directions as far away as you can hear. Listen for what's right around you. Notice if there are any smells in the room you're sitting in. Turn your awareness to your sense of smell. Notice what your mouth tastes like. There may be some residue of flavor from something you recently ate or drank. Just notice, without commentary or judgment. Tune into bodily sensations. Your weight, feet on the floor, sit bones pressing into the seat you're on, the weight of your hands and arms on your thighs. Feel your body moving as the breath comes in and out. You may feel it moving slightly to the beat of your pulse. Notice the air on the skin of your hands, face, and arms. Watch for thoughts that appear in your mind. Your mind is like the sky. Thoughts appear like birds, planes, sometimes loud helicopters, clouds, anything that floats across the sky of your mind, appearing and disappearing. And for the next couple of minutes, let your awareness move as it will, from sense perception to sense perception, including the perception of thoughts. And again, if thoughts take you away into a daydream, when you wake up out of it, just smile. Think that was daydreaming, back to here and now. Like posture, breath going out into the environment, mind mixing with the perception of the environment. Very good. So that's the close of our session of mindfulness practice. Now we'll begin our kindness and compassion practice. For this practice of kindness and compassion, you want to continue to maintain a good posture of paying attention. It's up to you whether you leave your eyes open or closed. There are two different phases of the practice: compassion for oneself and compassion for others. So you may want to keep your eyes closed when you're compassion for yourself, and then open them when you're imagining that you're extending that compassion to others. It's up to you. But to begin with, imagine in your heart center, which is the center of your chest at heart level, imagine a beautiful, clear crystal made of light. It can be any shape that you choose, any size that you choose. Of course, imagine that it fits inside your chest. And it has amazing transformative properties. The property of taking in negative energy and instantly transforming it and radiating it back out as the opposite positive energy. So if we have anger that we really don't want to have, we breathe that in from our being into the crystal. It immediately transforms into patience and acceptance, and that radiates out and fills our beings. Blame or guilt is transformed into forgiveness. Anxiety is transformed into ease. Sometimes we use the phrase disease for illness, so disease is transformed into health. And if we hyphenate it into dis-ease, it's transformed into ease, or relaxation, or contentment. So reflect on any feelings you're having of negativity towards yourself, negativity towards others that you don't want to feel, anything that is referred to as a poisonous emotion that poisons us with the negative qualities of hatred or greed, apathy, ignorance. Any negative feelings that you have as far as your physical health, any illness that you have, any dis-ease. And imagine that as you breathe in, you gather all of that negative energy, physical and spiritual and emotional, into the crystal in your heart center, and it instantly transforms. And as you breathe out, that crystal radiates the cool moonlight of kindness and compassion, like the moon on the screen above my shoulder. Cool moonlight that fills your body with the positive energy that's the opposite of those negative qualities. Breathe any shame or guilt, and breathe out forgiveness and acceptance to yourself. Breathe in anger with yourself and breathe out patience toward yourself. Breathe in giving yourself a hard time and breathe out kindness and acceptance. Breathe in any suffering you're feeling into the crystal in your heart center. Radiate out kindness and compassion to yourself. filling yourself with that cool moonlight that soothes the troubled mind and body. Now we can extend that to others. Again, your choice if you have your eyes open or closed. But imagine all around you, very nearby, all of your loved ones, family and friends, the people you care about the most. And they all have issues with health, with unhappiness, with struggle. Whatever struggle they're going through, imagine that as you breathe in, you gather that from them, you take it from them, and gather it into the crystal in your heart center. And as you breathe out, it radiates out that cool moonlight of kindness and compassion that fills them with the opposite positive quality. Breathe in their struggle, breathe out peace and contentment. Breathe in their illness, the crystal transforms it, and radiate out, filling them with healthiness. Breathe in any suffering they're experiencing, physical or mental, and breathe out a cool moonlight that soothes that suffering and provides them with relief and happiness. If your mind rests on one individual that's particularly going through difficulties, it's fine to focus on that person. Gather in that person's suffering into the crystal in your heart and radiate out freedom from suffering. Gather in struggle, radiate out ease. As best you can, now expand that circle to anyone you've ever met or encountered, even through seeing them through the media. And notice the judgments that we have about people that we like, that we dislike, or have no opinion about. No matter what our judgments of them, they all share the common experience of suffering, struggle, and illness. Gather in from all of them as best you can, all of their struggle, suffering, and illness into the crystal in your heart, which instantly transforms that and radiate out the cool moonlight of kindness and compassion that fills all of their beings with freedom from suffering, with happiness, with freedom from struggle, with ease, with freedom from illness, filling them with healthiness. And to whatever extent any of those beings you have difficulty with, include yourself. As you breathe in, gather in your difficulty with them into the crystal in your heart. As you gather in their suffering, and radiate out to yourself freedom from negativity and judgment. This doesn't mean you let go of your intelligence about what's right and wrong, what's good and bad. But let go of any wish for causing harm. remember that the bad deeds, the actions that seem so evil, come out of tremendous pain and confusion. If they were sane and wise, they wouldn't act that way. So gather that insanity, that confusion, that pain and suffering, and transform it into sanity and confusion and wisdom. No matter who they are, the world will be a better place. If their pain and suffering, insanity and confusion are replaced by wisdom and acceptance. If hatred is replaced by love, if fear is replaced by safety, if the illness is replaced by health. Gather all of those negative qualities into the crystal in your heart center as you breathe in. They instantly transform and radiate out that cool moonlight that fills all beings with peace, happiness, and health. Include all creatures, large and small, as best you can. Transforming all the negativity in the universe into positive energy of wisdom and compassion. Now, let go of the visualization and recenter yourself. Ground yourself with a couple of breaths. Tune into the present moment, feeling your breath filling and emptying you from you. Tune into the environment that you're in, your perceptions and your thoughts. Resting in peace. And that concludes the practice. And when we do this compassion practice, it's good to have an aspiration that goes with it. In the Buddhist tradition, these are called the four immeasurable minds, or four immeasurably great attitudes. And that is, may all beings, including ourselves, have happiness and the root of happiness. May all beings, including ourselves, be free from suffering and the root of suffering. May all beings, including ourselves, have a deeper joy, the joy of enlightenment that's free from conceptual notions of happiness and suffering. May all beings, including ourselves, have the fundamental equanimity that lets us move through life without being swayed by attachment, aversion, or ignorance. This is the aspiration that we have for ourselves and for others, based on this practice of gathering and radiating. And whenever we do a practice session, it's good to share the benefit of that for others, not to feel like, wow, I did such a great job. I want all the benefit for me. And it's natural, since we're doing a compassion practice for others, that we've already included them in our minds. But it's good as a reminder at the end to say something along the lines of, May the practice I have just done, and you can repeat this after me. May the practice I have just done be of benefit to others as well as myself. So thank you for the opportunity to practice together. And let me see if I can figure out how to unmute everyone. And I think I'm going to ask allow participants to unmute themselves and also ask all to unmute. So go ahead and unmute. And if you have any questions, you can chime in. To begin with, I wanted to share, if you look in the chat box that Jenny wrote, I had come up with an acronym of WAR, and this is particularly, this came from Christy Kerr, the Hall of Fame golfer, and she said, when I worry about results, I'm at war with myself. So we like what Jenny wrote, for peace, practice ease and create enlightenment. Sounds great. I like it. When you practice ease and create enlightenment, you are at peace.
That's what I thought.
I like that. Good. So any questions that you might have about the practice we just did? And I also want to say hello to an old friend, Gavin Long.
Hi, Joe.
Are you in Poland?
No, I'm in Austria.
Austria. I can never remember what European country you're in.
Yeah, well, I've moved about. I'm still moving about.
Gavin's a golf instructor. We've known each other for a long time. So any questions about the practice?
From my side, no, I unfortunately, obviously it was 7 o'clock in the evening when I joined, and I was just in and trying to catch some food at the same time, so I wasn't really properly participating until the second half.
Well, you can always do mindful eating, you know.
Oh, I was mindfully eating.
That's good. That's
good. But hence I didn't want to put myself on the video because I didn't want anybody to see me eating.
That's fine. No problem. Well, welcome. Anyone else have a question about the practice? I know before everyone came on, Doug said that he found that it was helpful. Doug, was it particularly the compassion for yourself that was so helpful? Or I think you mentioned your father.
Right. And just kind of, and other roommates who were having health issues. There were a lot of revolving.
Good intentions mixed with confusion is a recipe for disaster. It's good to clarify for ourselves, to get our minds clear, and to pacify any negative emotions we're experiencing. And once we pacify those and are not so concerned about how we're going to react or how we're going to be perceived or how we're going to feel, then we are more open and aware and insightful about what the situation is and what it calls for. So that's what I'd recommend. So even before you enter into the situation, do a little of that practice.
Yeah.
The basic mindfulness practice, as well as the compassion for oneself practice.
You know, I had a thought after you had talked about this last week. I was just kind of curious if you teach this with the athletes that you work with. in the moment, you know, when in competition, I would just think that this practice might be quite helpful.
It is very much appropriate, especially if one realizes that those thoughts are all about beating oneself up and negative judgment and getting down on oneself.
Right.
So that's the chapter in Zen Golf called Fire Your Evil Caddy. That we carry this person around that is always criticizing us and nagging us. And so discovering that. And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it's a way to use mindfulness practice to change that habit and to change pretty much any habit of body, speech, or mind. Ken and I have been working on this a lot, and I presented in Zen Golf, and I've refined it a little bit and call it the ninja system. I'll type it in. And that stands for necessary intention and non-judgmental awareness. So that's ninja. And that is choosing the behavior, physical, speech, mental, that you want to change, and having a strong desire to make that change, and then non-judgmental awareness of it. So simply tracking or counting and noticing. You know, mindfulness is sometimes described as bare attention or just noticing. And so this is the non-judgmental quality, especially if what you're noticing is how much you judge yourself. Because we can go down the rabbit hole of, oh, I'm judging myself again. I shouldn't be doing that. Wait, I shouldn't be saying should. Now I'm judging whether I should be saying it, and down the rabbit hole you go. So instead, saying, there I go judging myself again. That's one. And simply counting them changes the habit. So if you find yourself, as in your example, Doug, perhaps being critical of how a staff member is behaving, and that you are sharp in your speech with them, and you'd rather not be, then you can count each time that happens. If there's something else that's going on and you realize that you're more critical of someone than compassionate towards them, and you'd rather change that, then you can change that through this practice. But it does require mindfulness and being mindful of what you're thinking, what you're saying, how you're acting. And that's kind of the basis.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
I have a question.
Simon, how are you?
Good. How are you, Joe?
I think I owe you a discussion about some very complicated topics from yesterday.
I was reading it in a book about Enneagram valid cognition by Jigman Miffin, and I figured most of it out. So
Okay, that's good. What Simon's referring to is we were discussing yesterday cognition, knowing, meaning knowing, and how we can know things validly as opposed to generally, as opposed to illusion. And so there's a whole range of teachings on this called the pramana, or the science of valid cognition, that one of Andrew and my teachers, Kenpo Tsulchin Gyatso, has extensive writing about. And I would suggest, Simon, that you look that look that up from Kempo Tsulchin Gyatso.
Okay.
I'll try to get that for you. Trying to remember the book, but I can't right now. But I'll get that for you. And Andy gave me your email address, so
Okay.
I'll get that to you. So, Simon, your question?
Yeah. I was reading in, I believe it was in the Dalai Lama's book, The Mind of Clear Light, that if you meditate, concentrating on your heart, you can have a nervous breakdown. Is that true?
Okay, that's an interesting question. That has to do with some very advanced practices of how you work with your breathing. And so a big part of that working with the breathing is keeping it deep in the core of your torso. That what in Japanese they call the hara, and in Chinese they call the dantian. So in Tai Chi, it's the core of energy. In the Tibetan Buddhist Tantric tradition, they call it the secret center, or the source of experience. Now, the particular practice that book was referring to has to do with if you try to hold your breath up here, up in your chest at heart level, it creates a tremendous amount of anxiety. And when you said nervous breakdown, it could be anxiety to the point of tremendous shakiness of your reference points. So that's why this practice is to hold the breath below what they call below the navel. Now, obviously, you're not holding your breath below your navel because your lungs don't go down that far. It feels like that. So it's where you're holding your energy. And so that's what that part is referring to. We're not talking, it does not refer to this kind of meditation that we just did of imagining a crystal at your heart center. And there are lots and lots of different meditations that involve the heart, but not this particular intensive work with breathing and holding the breath. And that's a much more advanced practice that people are introduced to, and it's really important. They have the guidance, personal guidance of a teacher to work with that, because it can really throw your whole emotional and physical system out of whack.
Yeah, I recently...
all the energies in the body, the channels, the energies that they flow through, the whole nervous system, it can get all very much out of whack.
I recently did a retreat with Robert Thurman, and it was on Tumo, and we did breathing exercises like that, and you hold your breath in at the heart and imagine a red
No, not at the heart. Not at the heart. That's the point.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I'll talk with you privately about that if you'd like.
Okay.
I'll send you an email and we can talk.
Okay, thank you.
So the only other thing I wanted to share was this something that's helpful for all of these practices, and that is called a sense of humor. Having a sense of humor about ourselves and about the situations that we find ourselves in. That does not mean that we don't take climate change and how people are behaving, civil inequality and injustice, all of these things, we take those seriously, but we don't take ourselves so seriously, and we see the transitory quality of everything. So if we see things that way, it's much easier to find the leverage point, the point where we can insert something that actually can make a difference, and understand when and what situations that might be fruitless. So the key to that is understanding that how we are experiencing everything is our version of that. It's our version of it. Because let's take the simple example of light, of what we're seeing. Is what we're seeing actually out there? Not so much. Because the only way we can see something is light coming in through our eyes that then impacts our optic nerve and sends nerve messages to our brain that interprets those nerve messages as visual experiences. Now you can say, well, what about what we're imagining? Well, obviously that's illusion. That's appearing in our mind as well. So what we're seeing isn't appearing out there, it's appearing in our minds. The same thing for how sound comes in our ears, even things that we feel. You know, just the other day, I had gotten a bunch of things out of the freezer and my hands were very cold and I ran my hands under cool water and it felt hot. So what we're feeling is coming in through nerve from our skin and other parts of our body, again, into our brain and messages and interpreted in a particular way in our mind. So if we understand that everything we're experiencing has the nature of mental appearance, that it's our mental appearances, then we can have some sense of humor about it. Then we see what our consensual experience, what matches up with others, and then we can act to that relative reference point of what is going on without inserting our version of our own attachment or dislike, dislike, or ignorance about it. And if we can do that, then we are much happier for ourselves and much more effective and able to make the world a better place for others. So I just wanted to share that last thought as how we use our mindfulness practice and compassion practice to benefit ourselves and others.